Hey, so I don't really have anything relevant to throw in front of this video, and I don't really want to be on camera, so enjoy some of this map-making footage. It's just a little something to keep your eyeballs busy. It's not actually the topic of this video. The topic of this video is blood money, and why your D&D campaign could use it. So I've noticed these two problems that seem to crop up in D&D campaigns. Problem number one is that the party has too much money. They're going around carrying big sacks of gold and they have nothing to really spend it on. And problem number two is civilian casualties, lots of them. They're leaving a big pile of bodies in their wake and nothing's really happening because of it, or lots of things are happening because of it and that's just bogging down the game. So I've got this solution that you can drop into your campaign world, and it goes like some way to fixing both of these issues. Blood money. So what's blood money? Well, in many cultures throughout history, a killer was expected to pay blood money. In some cultures it's called wergild or bloodwit. There's a lot of names for this the world over. But in general it's a form of restitution to the family of the victim, who would in turn agree not to seek revenge on the killer. Essentially it's like a murder fine. And in my games it's the default punishment for killing someone. Now, why use this instead of the punishments we typically associate with murder, like, say, execution or imprisonment? Well, there's a number of reasons. So reason number one is it lets the plot of your game flow forward instead of bringing it to a halt. If the PCs are facing the threat of execution or imprisonment for something they've done, then you've created a sort of all or nothing scenario where the party is forced to either skip town, cover up the crime, or become entangled in a big legal battle. And you know, all those things can make for interesting scenarios to roleplay. I've certainly had a few like that. But they can also bog a game down. You know, you got a big adventure planned and now you've got to wait 3 sessions because the party's trying to frame a goblin for manslaughter. You know, it can be a hassle that you don't really want. And you might just want a quick solution to it. So that's reason number one. Reason number two why you should use blood money is as a plot hook. See, blood money is good for smoothing over all those little bumps in your campaign, but it can also be a pretty great bump in your campaign. Suppose the PCs find themselves in hot water for killing an important noble. Well, now they've got to find a lot of gold fast before the family can come for revenge. It's one of those nice open-ended plot hooks that the party can tackle in a number of ways. Reason number 3 you should use blood money is for the more lawful or good-aligned members of the party. Particularly those ones who have a reputation to maintain. Instead of covering up your crime or running from the law, the PCs can take responsibility and do the right thing without, like, volunteering for their own execution. And you know, some of your more honourable characters might even give more than is required as a display of goodwill to sort of bury the hatchet. So it's a good role-playing opportunity. Reason number 4 is that blood money is really good as a side objective. Suppose the PCs aren't just responsible for the people they kill, directly, but also anyone who gets caught in the crossfire of their fights. This spices up combat a bit, since now the PCs have an incentive to go protect people they otherwise might not really have much of a vested interest in protecting. Now you might be thinking, all this is already to be expected of a PC. And yeah, for certain characters that's certainly true, but blood money helps reinforce those expectations. Whether a character is heroic or completely mercenary. Think of it a bit like experience points. It provides an incentive to do things that the PCs are already sort of expected to do in a certain way. Think of it like experience points. It provides an incentive for the PCs to do things that they're already in some capacity expected to do. Now, you may be wondering, how do I go about implementing this? Well, historically, the cost of blood money was associated with the social status of the victim. You kill a farmer? Reasonably small fine. You kill a king? Very, very big fine. Well, that's all well and good as a guiding principle, but let's say we want something a bit more accurate. Well, after minutes of extensive Wikipedia research, I found some 10th century English wergild laws, which state that the cost of killing a king was 30,000 trisma, while killing a landless Welshman set you back 70. Pin this one to your DM screen, guys, it comes up all the time. But in all seriousness, this isn't too far from what I'd recommend, which is to use the magic item prices in Xanathar's Guide, assuming you're playing 5th edition, as a guideline for blood money costs. So the blood money for killing a peasant is the same as a common magic item, whereas a king's costs as much as a legendary magic item. I picked this because these costs are supposed to be enough to burden the PCs, but not so much that they're outside of the realm of what they could plausibly pay off. Of course, these costs will all be different depending on what sort of world you're playing in, and speaking of worlds, that brings me to my final reason you should use blood money, which is for world building. The example I gave there was a very medieval, hierarchical sort of society, where the lives of peasants are worth a fraction of those of nobles. But of course, your game can have any sort of society in it, and you can convey who or what those societies value through blood money. The price of a person's life might depend on how old they are, what race they are, what religion they follow, etc. So feel free to use all I've said here as guidelines and building blocks for creating your own world. And that's the video. If you've got any ideas of how to use blood money, please do let me know below. Also, I might be doing a few more videos like this in the future if people like it, so if you do like it, let me know that too. That's all. See ya.